Hi guys and girls, I'm Obsidian and CIG recently released a new updated roadmap for Star Citizen, giving players details on what to expect in terms of development for 2019. Before we get into that roadmap itself though, I feel it's important to go over a few basic facts here, as not everyone is fully aware of the ins and outs of the Star Citizen project and what it entails. First up then, CIG are working on two games right now. Star Citizen, which is the online game set in the persistent universe, and Squadron 42, which is a single-player game set in the same Star Citizen universe. In terms of development, Squadron 42 is the priority for CIG right now. It now has a huge development focus, and the intent from the developers is to get Squadron 42 into a beta release for 2020. Squadron 42 is the current main focus for a number of reasons. These include, but are not limited to, getting a fully fledged game release available that will generate funds which allow for further development on Star Citizen. Also, the technology being developed in Squadron 42 will later be used in Star Citizen. Squadron 42 then is extremely important for CIG. Now, with Squadron 42 having a beta release scheduled for 2020, it means that Star Citizen will not, and indeed cannot, be released in 2020 or before. In short, Star Citizen will arrive in 2021 at the very earliest. However, many people now expect to see it in 2022 or even later, a full 10 years then after the initial crowdfunding project. It's important to highlight this before we go look at the roadmap in order to set expectations. That said, there are a lot of updates coming in to Star Citizen in 2019, however, no one should expect miracles here. It's also worth pointing out, just as with all roadmaps, things can and likely will change throughout the year. Just because there's things on the roadmap doesn't mean they're guaranteed for implementation. Likewise, just because things are absent doesn't mean that they might not also turn up. This then is something that CIG have repeatedly stated. It's also a clause that can be found on their roadmap. For 2019, there are 4 major releases planned. Updates 3.5, 3.6, 3.7 and 3.8. The aim is to release one update per quarter. Update 3.5 is due in the first quarter of this year, however some aspects of this update, such as the new flight model for the game, will be going to the private test server before the 3.5 release actually happens. Another point worth mentioning here is that CIG have been discussing server meshing for quite a while now. This is a subject that has come up more than a few times. Server meshing is the technology that will allow Star Citizen to have hundreds of players in a single instance. In short, it's tech that would support single shard worlds. However, this is not in the 2019 roadmap, and it's currently only in very early design phases. It appears then that CIG still need to be convinced and still need to test whether or not this technology is feasible. So then, on to 3.5. Now, I will go into a bit more detail with 3.5 than the other patches, and that's simply because it's far more closer than the others. So, update 3.5 will bring with it a new mission giver, a new character generation system that CIG are currently calling DNA face customization, as well as, at last, delivering playable female characters. ArcCorp Planet will finally make its way into the game. Anyone who has seen footage of Star Citizen over the years will likely be familiar with ArcCorp, as well as its landing zone, Area 18. ArcCorp brings 2 moons along with it, Lyria and Walla. There's a number of AI improvements coming, and in terms of gameplay there will be new heat mechanics as well as a new AI bounty hunting. This feature will introduce AI police that hunt unlawful players. There's a whole bunch of other improvements to the existing gameplay as well. The Origin 300i, 315p, 325A and 350R will be getting reworks. New ships and variants will also make an appearance in addition to weapons and item content. Perhaps one of the biggest focuses for 3.5 will be the new flight model. Now, I won't go into too much details on this right here, but I would instead talk about it in a future video. I think it's worthy of an entire subject in and of itself, especially when we can get to grips with it and try it out hand to hand personally. For the 3.6, 3.7 and 3.8 updates, I will include the highlights here in the video rather than go into full detail, but to see the full content, do check out the links in the video description where you can find the CIG's roadmap for the 2019 and Star Citizen. So 3.6 is scheduled for the second quarter of 2019. A new location type will be rest stop space stations. There will be the introduction of a black market economy that will allow security forces and shops to identify stolen and illicit goods. Ship rentals are also scheduled for 3.6, and this will allow players to rent ships. Planetary ground fog and procedural asteroids are also going to be a thing, along with harvestable entity spawning. 3.7 during the third quarter will introduce cargo depot space stations, in addition to further rest stop space station variants. In terms of gameplay, there will be a number of improvements to existing mechanics, plus the introduction of new mechanics such as FPS close combat and player swimming. PvP bounties are also scheduled for 3.7, as well as ship-to-station docking. 3.8 is scheduled for the final quarter of the year and will introduce refinery space stations, in addition to further variants on cargo space stations. Planet microTech will arrive, along with new Babbage Landing Zone V1. Planet microTech will also come with 3 new moons. One of the highlights of 3.8 will be dynamic mission systems, which allows content to be dynamically tailored to the current environment. Mag boots and ship-to-ship docking are also planned. The long-awaited Salvaging will also finally make it into Star Citizen. Now, it's also worth pointing out here that there's a number of things that have been removed from the 2019 roadmap, and currently there's no information on when or even if these things will actually make it into the game. These include guild systems, the repair mechanics, ship-to-ship refueling, and gas cloud technology. So there we have it then, the state of Star Citizen in 2019. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys and girls next time.